Good afternoon, guys. This is Daniel Cochran with Lone Cypress Outdoors, and today we're going to be working on a 220 ground power unit. As you can see in the last video we posted, we've been out in the past month. We've been doing some bow fishing, some riding with friends, and just hanging out, taking pictures, things like that. And we were out last Friday night, and we noticed that the exhaust header was leaking. Right in this area right up here, it wasn't sealed up real good because the bolt stripped out. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take the exhaust off, the header off. We're going to unbolt the exhaust, pull everything down. I'm going to retap the exhaust, and when I retap the exhaust, I'm going to put a threader filler in it. And when I put that threader filler in it, then it'll allow us to put this bolt back in, the same size bolt back in it, and hopefully it'll seal this gap up, and we should be good to go. So we don't want to drop a valve on this jug right here. Today what we're going to be doing here is, like I said a second ago, we've got these thread fillers, and this is what it looks like. It just looks like a small insert. So what you do is you tap it out to, say, a 1/2 inch, and then it allows you to put a 5/16 bolt on the inside. And we bought these at Ace Hardware. You can get these at your local hardware store, or you can order them offline on the internet. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and unbolt the mufflers from the cage. And once we get the mufflers from the cage unbolted, then we'll go over here and start unbolting the header. And what this is bolted together with is this boat. I mean, all airboats are different, but this one is held together by a clamp with 9/16 nuts on it. So you can just take it apart right here, or loosen it up rather, and hopefully I won't have to take it all the way apart. We'll get it loose. Once we get it loose enough here, then we should be able to push this out like so. And that allows that to free it up, and it takes the tension off the header as we're unbolting the header, because you don't want tension on the header because your jugs are aluminum. And if you have too much tension here as you're unbolting it, it could cause the bolt to strip out when you start bringing the bolt out of the hole. It could cause your threads in your hole to strip, and you don't want that. We're already dealing with that now, and it's a pain in the butt. So now what we're going to do is I've got a 1/2 inch socket, and we're going to unbolt the header right here. The reason I have such a long extension on it is because some of these bolts are against the intake tubes, and it allows me to be able to get in there at an angle to where it don't put me in a bind against the intake tube. As you can see, this is the one that was leaking. You can see where the exhaust was blowing by, and it's real black around the washers on the bolt. It's really black, so you can tell that's where the exhaust was blowing by the jug. Got a little bit of RBT on it. It's not wanting to drop out. Now this motor that we're working on, it is a 220 ground power unit, Continental. Continental used these motors back in the day for basically as generators is what they were. They're not true aircraft engines. They are basically just a generator motor. And you know, they normally run between about 190 horsepower to 220 horsepower. It just varies on the style of motor that you have. That's just rainwater, by the way. It's not gas or anything like that. We've had some bad weather down here in Florida in the past couple of days, and the boat wasn't under the barn, so I ended up building up some water in the exhaust system. Accumulating, that's the word I was looking for. God dang, I'll get it right in a minute. Alright, so when you're taking these apart, mine ended up staying on there because I used some copper RVT last time. But you want to make sure you don't drop these, damage them. They're the gaskets for the exhaust, so you want to try to hold on to these. My other two, they appear to be in there pretty good. I'm not going to take them off. I'm going to leave them up there because this is the only jug. Remember, this is the only one I want to work on today. So there's nothing wrong with these, so I'm going to leave them there. So when I put the header back on and the bolt rack back up, we should have a tight seal on those two. Only thing I'm going to work on is cleaning this up. We've got some, you can see that RVT right there. We're going to clean all this off. We're going to tap this hole right here. And when we tap this hole right here, we should be able to put the insert in it, screw the insert in. Once the insert's screwed in all the way, we should be able to put it back together and be good to go. Sorry about that, guys. We had to take a break. Had to get a few tools together. In the process of getting a few tools together, I kind of smashed my thumb a little bit, but it's all right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take, and I'm going to drill the hole out and get it prepared for the insert. So the size bit that we have is I put a 27/64 bit on it. That's what we're going to drill the hole out for. And we will, once we get it drilled out, then we should be able to tap it for 1/2 inch and put this 1/2 inch insert in it. So bear with me, and that's what we're going to do now. Difficulty getting drilled in there, so just give me a second. I kind of skipped a step 2. So in the process, what I'm going to do, just so you know, is I want to measure the depth of my hole because I don't want to drill too far as I'm drilling this out. So I'm just using a screwdriver, a smaller screwdriver, and I'm going to go up in there and make sure that I've got it inserted. I'll mark this screwdriver with a mark just so I can see it. Just to make sure I'm in there all the way. So I can see that mark, then I'm going to come over here on my drill. And this is just, I guess you can say, the redneck way of doing it. But I'm going to mark this on my drill. I'm going to mark it just a little shallow, so I don't go too deep because of the point. So I'm marking it a little shallow, so as I'm drilling that, I'm not going to go no deeper than that, so I don't mess up anything internal in the jug. See if I can get this a bit deeper. Okay. Alright, here we go. Going slow because you don't want to overdo it. You want to be aluminum is real easy to mess up. All right, so we're drilled through. So now that we're drilled through, we should be able to take our half-inch tap. Get it set up here. As you're doing this, you're going to want to do this slow, really slow. I might not be able to use this handle. I'm going to see here because I have a lot of obstructions here, so it might not allow me to use it. I don't think I am. I think what I'm going to end up having to do is having to use a wrench on it. We'll get a wrench to go on it, and then that way I'll have the flexibility to be able to move the wrench around as I'm going in with the tap. And because once I come around this area, I'm going to hit these uprights, and it's going to mess me up. So we'll get a wrench, and we'll be able to tap it with a wrench. Alright, we're good to go. I went and got a wrench, put it on there. It's just a 5/16 wrench. It fits right on the end perfect. It'll allow me to do some moving around here. So let's see if we can get this thing started, get it tapped, and get it back together, hopefully. And you want to do this as slow as possible, work it back and forth, allow them threads to cut. Kind of hard with this wrench, but when you're in a tight spot like this, you really don't. Sometimes you don't have the option to do it the easy way. So as you can see, I'm gonna back it out now a little bit, allow some of that to come back. I think I'm deep enough. I'm going to mark this right here, compare it to our drill bit that we have. Should have marked it before I put it in, but I didn't. little bit further. We still got about another 1/2 inch we can go. Actually, I'll go ahead and do this here. See how it's already started threading it, and we were able to just screw that right back up in there. Threaded pretty good in there, actually. I believe that'll do it. Now we should be able to thread the insert in there. Once we get the insert in there, then we should be able to run our bolt right back up on it and be done. Tell to tell them if I got everything correct. Alright guys, we're back. Sorry about that. I had to make sure I had all the proper stuff again, and I had to find my RVT, my ultra copper gasket material. So what I'm going to do now is, we got everything tapped, as you can see before we went on break there and stopped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this RVT and I'm going to put it on the threads of this. Now these threads come with some Loctite on them. You can't see it here because of, from me working it in and out, making sure it fits, they kind of come off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of this RVT on there, so when I screw it up in there, it just helps it to stay. It helps it from backing out, rattling out, or anything like that. So let's do that now, and then after we do that, then we'll go through the process of getting the old RVT off of it. That was, you know, don't mind that stuff. That was kind of a repair we done on the water so we could make sure we got back home, trying to stop it from leaking as much as possible. You don't want an open head like that on these things because it's not good for them. So I'm just going to take some, I'm going to run it around it like so. And this stuff is messy. You don't even know. Alright, so we got that there. I'll take this screwdriver here. And it should screw right in. I mean, you see how easy that is? Very simple. Very simple. Alright, so now we're at the point where we can clean off the header, or the head. We can clean off the head, clean the copper RVT off the headers down here. Once we get the RVT cleaned off the headers down here, then we'll be able to insert, put everything back together and bolt it up and hopefully fire it up, and you won't have any exhaust leaks. So I'm not using a special tool to clean this stuff off with. I always just use my pocket knife. I've always got it in my pocket. I'm just going to go around here. I'm going to go around where this gasket bolts up. And I'm just going to scrape along here and try to get all this material off that I could get off. That way it doesn't cause a leak. You know, it's not going to be perfect. By no means anything that I'm doing here am I 100% a mechanic, so just want to get all this stuff off like this here. Just get all that off there, so off the face of it, so you don't have any issues. Don't have any clumps. And remember, you are putting a gasket on this as well, so that's going to seal a lot of it up. I just want to get most of it off as you can. Alright guys, clean the exhaust header off real quick on this one valve right here. And this stuff really just comes off easy, to be honest with you. I mean, it ain't like you got to spend a lot of time. If you had some sandpaper, you can run sandpaper on it. I'm going to put some of this RVT back on it anyhow, so it's not like it's going to not seal back up. Most definitely after you do this, you want to sharpen your pocket knife. It wouldn't cut hot butter after this, I can promise you. It's going to fall. It's going to fall while I'm doing it. I can promise you. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I got my gasket that I took off of it earlier. It come off the jug. So I'm going to take this RVT, squirt a little on my finger like so. I'm going to smear it around here, get it good and thick as I can, and that way it'll help that gasket seal, you know what I mean? So we're going to run it on here like so. I'm going to set the gasket on there like that and mash it down and work it in real good. And then I'm also going to put some on top of the gasket where it seals to the jug as well, just to help that cylinder seal up, because this cylinder here is giving me problems. This is the second time I've tried to do this repair, and apparently last time it didn't hold. As you can see, I had to fill it full of this stuff and get back to the boat ramp. When you're on the water, you kind of do what you have to do just to get back. Even though I had people there with me, it wasn't like we were, in danger or about to have to stay the night on the lake or anything like that. It's just you don't want to hurt your boat mechanically as much as you can, especially with some people that this is what they do for a living. They live off these boats. All right, so now that we got this up here, sorry about that, guys. I'll be getting some help from my camera woman. Beautiful. Alright, so now we're just going to go around and put all the bolts back in. As you're tightening these down, there is a torque spec on these. You could go on Continental, look it up on Google. They can get the torque spec offline. There's a company called Dakar Aviation, we have no affiliation with them, but they do sell every part you need for this thing. You can order a whole new jug, you can get carburetors, you can get factory intakes. For these 220 ground powers, you can get everything you need for these off Dakar Aviation. Like I said, we have no affiliation with them at all. It's just a place where I order my parts if I need them. But there is a torque spec on these bolts. I don't have it. I just tighten it down and I make sure that I don't strip it out. I use a 1/4 inch drive. That way, I don't have such a big wrench on it. Tightening down on it. Alright guys, it's bolted back up, minus bolting the muffler back to the cage. That's something I can do after the video. Y'all got the gist of it, you know, just the clamp bolts back on. Alright. Now it's basically time to pick up all these tools so I can fire the boat up. You don't want to fire the boat up and everything be on the boat like this. If you suck something through that prop, it'll ruin your prop. It could sling off, it could hit somebody. It could be a bad day for somebody. So we're going to clean the boat up, clean it real good, get everything off of it, and then when we come back we'll fire the boat up. Alright guys, we're done cleaning the boat up. Everything is off of it as far as I know. My telephone in here. So now we're going to fire the boat up, get it warmed up, let it run for a second. Might get a little noisy, we'll probably have to edit this part of it out. But we will get it fired up, get it warmed up so it'll idle. And I can sit here and mess with it and see if this exhaust header is going to leak or not. Let's see what we got here. Gasket on the header, I think she'll be fixed for the next trip, so we can go out bow fishing and maybe put Sissy, the camera girl, on some tilapia. But I got one more thing I want to show you. I'll walk over here with you real quick. And the reason I use the type of thread insert that I use is because the other day, now sometimes these things work for people, sometimes they don't. But the other day, I went and picked up what they call a helical, and it's like this right here. You know, it's just a stainless insert. You tap it out the same way, put it on here, and you thread it in. Well, what I found out is, to me, it didn't work as well. It didn't give enough room for the threads to bite. So I chose to go a different route. Seems to work a lot better so far. We'll see, but you never know. But please go on YouTube, subscribe to our page, like our page, Lone Cypress Outdoors. There'll be more videos to come. Appreciate you watching the video. Thank you for being here. Lone Cypress Outdoors. Y'all have a good night.